Hello, everybody. So we just finished the session one, of the 8-week program from Wounded to Wild, and it was great and amazing, and I loved it so much, and I love seeing your faces, but I did not record it. So, I know a couple of you came in, but then you had to leave or your video wasn't working. Totally fine. It's fine. You have 8 weeks of this, right? So if you're feeling any like anger or frustration, don't worry, because all of you get a session with me every week. You'll get a laser session every other week, and then you'll get like an hour every week, and then a laser session to check in the second week, and I'll talk more about that structure in another video. Well, actually, I'll go ahead. Yeah, I'll be scheduling with all of you. Okay. So first of all, I don't want you to freak out about not being able to be present in all of these sessions, or like if you're not able to attend them, because I am going to take you a little bit deeper because I know each one of you, um, you each are on your own journey, and that's what I want to highlight or um, really hone in on is your own specific journey to um, leading a soul-led life, right? And your own specific healing journey that leads you to really healing from your wounds and then expressing your wild. All of you, it looks different for all of you. So that's why I want to meet with all of you every week. And I know it might be a lot for myself, but you know what? I want to keep making this program better and better. And I want to dive all in, and I want all of us to be all in on this journey and make it very, to be an immersive experience. And to immerse yourself into something is to go all in, is to say, I'm going to show up even when I don't feel like it. I'm going to do the work, even if I think that it doesn't pertain to me. I'm going to ask questions. I mean, it really does require you to start showing up differently than you always have. And this was a thing I learned I really started to put into practice this year because I used to not ask questions. I'd go to programs, I would just watch, which is fine. And, it's fine. Sometimes we do need to do that. But when you show up and apply yourself and ask questions and share your experience and start to open up, which is why we are going to be specifically integrating 4 specific shadows that are going to help you do this. Because that is how you will express your wild. That's how you'll express your truth. That's how you'll start to express your authenticity, right? Is by being vulnerable. And I know that is when we have trauma and things like this, it's hard to do that. So, I'm just going to do an overview and give you of what we went through in this session in the first one, and how to be the most get the most out of this program, and what to do this week of what to focus on, because again, what we focus on is what grows, and is whatever you focus on grows. But there is one thing I did not talk about in the Zoom session just now, like I wanted to. I forgot, because I do want to keep these to an hour. Next week it'll probably be a little bit over an hour, because it's going to be with a shadow shift and stuff. Like, we're actually going to be doing shadow work in next week. So, okay, what I didn't talk about was the nervous system regulation tools and how important they are, how important it is. And I know I talk about this all the time, but I want to be very specific with you guys of the more that you sit with yourself in presence every day and you create your practice, so a soul care practice, like I've always talked about, the more healing that's going to happen. When you can sit with yourself, when you can find safety, when you can have compassion, when you can forgive yourself, which are the 3 things you really need to do. If you feel a lot of resistance to sitting still, if you have a lot of resistance of closing your eyes, if you have a lot of resistance of doing this work, it shows me that in yourself that, okay, my nervous system is going into a response, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. We will talk more about that next week, but you are stuck in a nervous system response. And when you're stuck in a nervous system response, your prefrontal cortex is not connected. It's not activated. When you're in a stress response, you are coming from the limbic part of your brain, which is very emotional, and nothing sticks. Like you're not there to learn, you're there to protect yourself, and like you're very heightened, nothing will happen. And this is why, like at Turning Point, when there are patients or clients who are still using, but they come to therapy, I've even said, I'm like, there's nothing that's going to stick. If you were in a very high, like, unless they know how to help, unless they do teach the nervous regulation tools, and I have yet to really meet like a therapist who goes deep into that. I kind of feel like it's like, I don't know, part of what I want to do of like, you aren't like, nothing's really happening if you don't know how to regulate your nervous system, um, or if you're in a stress response. And so taking your power back requires that. So what I want you guys to do this week, and I did talk about this, of like observe your nervous system. Like, do you get anxious very quickly? Do you go into like shaking? Do you have a lot of like you try to stay away from people because it's very activating? Like, are you in a higher? Do you talk a lot? Are you anxious? Can you not sleep? Do your thoughts race? Like that's hyper arousal. But if you are depressed, if you sleep, if you have a lot of, if you don't have any motivation, if you are very just like down, like your energy is very down, that's hypo arousal. So like knowing where you are on that scale is going to be so powerful for you. And so if you are just diving into this work, if that's all you do this week is like, okay, how am I feeling right now? What's going on in my body? Like what, just noticing where your nervous system is a lot. Or are you like, do you go into fight? Do you just want to fucking fight somebody all the time? Or are you in flight again? Are you, so noticing where you're at, and you can fluctuate. But then recognizing that that's how you've been wired, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just so important to understand that, and that you can actually rewire the nervous system, which is what we are initially, that's really what we're doing, right? That's really what's happening in the next 8 weeks is you are rewiring your responses to life to be different, right? And that's how we break a pattern is we respond differently, we do something differently, we see something differently. And so today it's all about creating safety, right? And so we talked about how to create a safe container. And so when you guys are in the Zoom with me, right? Or in our one-on-ones. When our one-on-ones, some of this doesn't apply, but being in a group coaching program can be kind of triggering for some people. They don't want to share because they don't. And I will respect that. However, conversation healing happens through the conversation and the connection. It just does. So, um, what I like to do is to kind of go through this, so like the pre-frames of what you're gonna expect in the next 8 weeks. Is today we're talking about like the foundations really, and the safety, the forgiveness, the self-forgiveness, and really creating a foundation for the rest of this program for you to build upon, creating a foundation for those pillars to be built. And so, this week we're doing that. Next week on week 2, and I'll create a slide. I have a slide that I'm going to share. Week 2 is about the vision, and we're going to be integrating the shadow. We're going to be integrating the shadow of failure. Okay. So if you're fear of being judged, of being a failure, or you're not, taking action, this is what keeps us from taking action on a vision, is if we're afraid of being called a failure. And so we're going to be doing that week 2. Week 3, we're actually going to go into, more of the, more of the nervous system, like science of it, Okay. And that then we'll be going into connection and we're going to integrate the shadow of not good enough or the shadow of like being abandoned, abandonment, being afraid of being abandoned or isolated, that people are going to leave. And so you don't form any connections because you're like, they're going to leave anyway. I'm going to be isolated. I don't want to put myself out there because I'm going to get rejected. Right. And so it's really, reintegrating that shadow um of not being good enough. Okay. And then the third one is receptivity. We'll get into that on, I think it's week 4. Yeah, week 4 is when we get into receptivity, and the shadow is controlling. And so if you are trying to control or you have a fear of being out of control, then you're going to be blocked off from, you're not going to trust people, so you're going to be blocked off of receiving, right? And receiving support from a spiritual source, humans, you're going to be blocked off from that. So we're going to integrate the shadow of controlling. And then the fourth one of creativity is vulnerability, right? The shadow of being vulnerable. If that is a trait you don't like, you're like, no, that's bad if I'm vulnerable because that opens me up to attack, then that you're not going to be able to connect with somebody else to create, right? And also, you're not going to be able to share about your pain. So being vulnerable means sharing about real things that have happened to you, right? Your pain. And that's how we create our vision as well. And what lights us up and what motivates us is through our pain and challenges that we've went through. So that's an overview of what is actually we're gonna be doing in the next 7 weeks. And so with a safe container though, when you're on a Zoom or wherever, I ask them to put their hand up, like make sure that your microphone is off, put your hand up, and I'll go over this again next week. So I probably won't talk much more about this, but an agreement of self-responsibility, of taking responsibility for how you're showing up, your choices, take responsibility for what you choose to share, right? Take responsibility for how you feel, like really just full responsibility because you did sign up for this program. You did invest in this, right? Um, it's time to take responsibility for what your experience is. And that is really the ultimate goal, is like you truly believing at the depths of your soul that you have an impact on the experience that you have all the time of your life. And so that's what I'm helping with that. And then what else? Oh, and also, so we'll be doing a drop-in at the beginning, and a drop-in is basically us dropping into our subconscious, and shutting down, the conscious part, getting out of that stress response, calming the nervous system, and then going deeper into the subconscious mind. It's very similar to hypnosis, right? So if you've never experienced that, then when you come next week, you'll experience that, because I like to do it on a Zoom instead of, I mean, I could record it and I might share it actually, just because it's a good way for you just to get in the feeling of feeling safe and your body being relaxed. Let's see what else. Outline the process. So yeah, and just the agreement that you're going to be respectful and you're going to take responsibility and you're going to be open. And really trusting yourself. This is something I don't think I talked about, but the self-trust. This work requires you to trust yourself, to trust what's coming up, right? There is no right or wrong. I think I did say that, but like there is no right or wrong. It is for you to trust what's happening instead of questioning what's happening. So when I take you through a drop-in, or when you do the shadow shift process, or whatever we do here, in which we will do all of that, trust that there's a reason. If you can't see anything, it's because, and I've had to come around to this knowing, and is that if you don't see anything, there's nothing wrong. There's resistance, right? There's something subconsciously that's resisting from connecting, right, with your soul, because that's how we do it, through imagination, through the visualization. That's how we communicate with our parts. That's how we communicate with our nervous system, right? With these shadow parts, that's how we do that. And so it's all normal. Not seeing something is normal. Seeing a lot of things is normal. Nothing happening is normal. It's all normal. There is no way you can fuck this up. Okay. Um, then we talked about, hold on, if there's anything else. Oh, being there and present. So if you're not able to be present on a call, it's fine. You can even just turn your video off and just listen. But I do want interaction over the next 7 weeks. And if I ask a question, I did this today of like, and nobody says anything, I will call on somebody. And there's a purpose behind that. It is to open up and to go over a hump, to realize you do have experiences to share. You do have knowledge to share. You have stuff to share. It's just that yeah, someone's got to drag it out of you, and that's going to be me. So on every call, I'm going to ask questions, and if nobody puts their hand up or wants to talk, and this happens in all of the group, by the way, it's normal. That happens in all the group coaching, no matter if there's 50 people or 10 people. I've been in many group coaching containers, and people have to do this all the time. Like my coach has to be like, okay, I'm going to call on somebody. Come on, he's going to say something. It's just a human response. It's not, I used to take it personal, but I don't anymore. Also, I do intuition over tradition. Things might shift depending on who shows up, the people that show up, what do you need, what is not working for you, or what is confusing. If you're there, you're gonna have a big part in this and how future people experience this. Um, Okay. And then, yeah, trust your process. Always have patience with yourself, have grace, compassion, and self-forgiveness. Um, you're going to see people have breakthroughs. And if you go into why haven't I had a breakthrough yet, you're going to block yourself off from that flow of healing and divine information. Um, okay. I think that is all of that part. And then the second part here of what we talked about. So we went through a drop-in, which you're going to experience. I'll do a recording of that. I can't really do that right now. But what your homework was this for the next week, what I would like for you guys to do, number one, pay attention to your nervous system. And that's it. Or if you've been doing this work for a while and you have a practice, continue doing that. Do mindful breathing in the morning. We start mindful mornings on Monday. So this will be a good chance for you guys to get in that practice. I forgot to mention that on there, but Monday at 6:30 in the morning, we're going to be doing mindful mornings, Monday through Friday next week. So that'll help you with that. But pay attention to how your body is when you're triggered, when you're angry, when you whatever. Just pay attention to what mood you're in every day. I think that would be a good way to do that. And then the second part is make a list of your regrets, all of the choices that you regret from the past. If you have anything that you're like, oh, if I hadn't made that choice, I wouldn't be here. We're going to get rid of all that. Okay. This is really clearing out the clutter of the past. So then the energetic, container can open up for you to move forward. Because if you're stuck in regret, it's not going to matter what I do up here, right? If you're stuck in regretting where you're at, what choices you've made, you're beating up on yourself, like none of this is going to stick. So we have to release those regrets to practice the intuition. Also, when we have made a lot of bad choices, then we stop making choices. We're like, I'm not good at making choices. So then that blocks us off from our intuition altogether. We'll be like, oh no, the last time I listened to my intuition, it brought me here, whatever. That's also why you take full responsibility for how you show up, how you feel, the actions you take, the choices you make. That all is going to be a big part of this. Or you just, if you don't, then you're just not going to get as much out of it, right? If you're holding on to regret. And it's also like regret is what sabotages your intuition. So I posted the homework. I'll post it with this video that you guys can go back to. So So yeah, all you need to do, make a list of your regrets this week or as they come up, because you might not be able to think of them when you sit down as you go about your day this week. What comes up? What do you say? I regret doing that. Okay, write that decision down. That's all you got to do. And then next week when you come, we'll do a releasing ceremony to where you release these regrets and you forgive yourself. And then it just opens up space. You're going to feel lighter. It's really going to help. It's going to help with that. If you have been doing this for a while, pay attention to how you use your intuition this week. How do you use it to make decisions? Even just about like what you wear, how do you use your intuition on like, what am I going to wear today? Okay. And then whether you should date somebody or not, or, like what to order at a restaurant, like little daily things, or like what way to go, or, going somewhere, just any time you make a decision. And then finally, the affirmations this week, I posted them also, but you can use there's 3 of them. You can choose one and you can just use this as your affirmation in the morning of like, I forgive myself today for the self-sabotage of ignoring and failing to honor my intuition. How does that feel for you? We are going to talk about energy muscle testing. So that's a way to communicate with your intuition. Or you can use my inner knowing is my personal guidance system. That could be your affirmation for the week. Or the third one is my choices are based on my intuition expressed through the wisdom of my body. And so our intuition isn't always a voice, it's a sensation, it is a feeling, it's an emotion, it's usually it's a sensation right in our body, or it's a however your gifts come out, but a lot of times it's just through our body. And when we're rewiring the nervous system, it 100% requires that we get out of our head into our body. And I know a lot of people are heady. I am very heady. This year's the first time I'm actually like feel good in my body. But yeah, so that was session 1. You have your homework. It's at the top. That's all you have to do this week. And then I will be posting just like an overview of what each week is going to entail when it comes to integrating those shadows. That way, because then your brain can be like, okay, I know what's coming up. I can relax because I know what's happening and what's about to happen. So, all right, you guys, I hope that you have a wonderful Saturday. Also, next Saturday, it's not going to be at 10. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Because Abby is having her workshop planned, not planner, I think is what it is. And that's from 10 to 12 in Rochester. So if you are, I'm going to be there. And if anyone else, okay, I can't wait to see everybody. And I'll be checking in with each one of you and we'll be scheduling sessions, each one of you. So, all right. Love you guys. Have a great day. Oh, hold on. How do I end this? Okay, here we go.